The Bread of Life discourse in John's Gospel is intended to help us understand or unpack what happened at the Last Supper. The Last Supper is Jesus' invitation for us as his disciples to more deeply and intimately explore this mystery of the Eucharist. And when you're exploring a mystery and you try to understand it, the best you can hope for is getting to a point where you realize there's a lot more that you don't know, that it's ever unfolding. And if you are getting to the point where you think you have it under control, you think you understand it, you've locked down certain concepts, all you've done is put the mystery into a box and defined it. You've annihilated the mystery. And that's kind of ironic because we want to revere and respect and honor the mystery of God, not put God in a box. So John's Gospel is intended to help us unpack this, and we have to be careful not to try to use John's Gospel as a word-for-word understanding of what Jesus said, because it was written decades after Jesus died and rose to the Father and after any eyewitnesses were gone. So it's kind of a symbolic understanding of what Jesus is talking about. At the Last Supper, odds are the apostles didn't know exactly what Jesus was talking about. So when he says, "This is my body, take it and eat," there's a lot of open interpretation to this. Did he say, "This is my body," when he picked up the unleavened bread? Did he refer to his physical body? Or did he say, "All of you as my followers, you are my body"? Maybe it's all the above. And so when the church comes along and we focus on a particular aspect and we become very dogmatic in defining things, we're kind of leading people down a very narrow path and kind of missing perhaps a broader picture. I would imagine that Jesus might be turning to God the Father and saying, "Oy vey, I didn't understand that they were going to be so narrow in interpretation of this mystery." So when Jesus has the Last Supper and invites us into something, I think that he's deliberately vague because he wants us to explore all the different possibilities. It is in that diversity that we see a fuller picture of perhaps of what he's talking about. Whether or not he was referring to consuming physically this bread that is consecrated, or if it's a symbolic action, as some Christian denominations think, or who knows what the different things are, consuming seems to be a key image, metaphor that he's referring to. And in consuming, we are taking something, breaking it down, digesting it, being nourished by it, and making it part of ourselves. We have the old analogy, you are what you eat, and we tend to forget that. We tend to think that whatever we eat, we make into ourselves, not that we're transformed by what we consume. Maybe we ought to explore the other options from time to time. When we consider that Jesus is asking us to consume him, the goal is that we become him, not that he becomes us, as if we digest him and break him down and make him part of who we are. Maybe that's what we've done when we've taken his mystery and formed it into our human constructs of understanding. But if, on the other hand, we understand and hear that in John's Gospel, Jesus is emphasizing the unity that he has with the Father, that the relationship is so intense, so integrated, so intimate, that the barriers between the Father and the Son are broken down. Maybe that's what he's intending when we ingest him, that we break down the barriers between ourselves, our ego, our identity, and that of God. And the goal is that we don't remain with our egos, our pride, all our human hang-ups, but instead we become more Christ-like, more in the mind and heart of God from which we came. So if we struggle with this absence of communion during this pandemic lockdown, and kind of struggle with the idea that the church has come along and said, well, don't worry, you can do a spiritual communion, that the grace of God is still available to you if you simply have the right intention. And that seems to fly against everything that we are taught in second or third grade about the Eucharist. Maybe it's something we ate if we have the heartburn. Instead, consider this as another opportunity to explore this ever-unfolding mystery of God, because the Eucharist is far more than what we ever think it is.